guys, thanks for tuning in to About the Law. I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers. In this episode, animals and the law and the care of animals. If you're one of hundreds of thousands of people, literally, who drive by on Route 28 between New Hampshire and Massachusetts every day, going right by the MSPCA Nevins Farm facility, which is actually in Methuen, Massachusetts, did you ever wonder what goes on inside of here? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at today on About the Law.
I am here with Heather Robertson. We are at the MSPCA and we are actually in the Education and Training Center. Now, Heather, can you tell me a little bit about what goes on in this room?
Yes, this room is actually really versatile and supports all of our programs. A lot of people know us just as an adoption center, but we also have a variety of programs to support animals and the people who love them out in our community. One of those functions is our dog training classes. People who might be struggling through a behavior challenge with their dog. I know my dog likes to jump on the counter, bad girl, and we want to help people work through those using a positive rewards-based training approach. So we run classes here really throughout every hour of the day and in the evenings, weekends. So if you have a pup at home that needs a little extra help, you can sign up for a class.
Would you say that there's, because I know it's like, you always hear like an old dog can't learn new tricks. Would you say that it's impossible to train older dogs, or do you think that behavioral classes can still help some older puppies?
You're never too old to learn, and that applies to dogs as well. We have dogs as old as 11, 12, 15 years old that take different types of classes here. One of the great things about the classes, it also provides some bonding time. So if you are an adopter who recently adopted a senior dog and you want to bond a little bit more with your pup, you can bring them here and take one of our basic manners classes or any of the variety of different classes that we have here, and you'll be further along in your partnership with your dog.
That's awesome. Are there any programs that people would be able to attend here even if they say don't specifically have a dog, like I know it's the Education and Training Center. What kind of education programs do you guys do here?
We have a lot that are focused for kids of all ages, but specifically for little ones, we have our reading programs for toddlers and older kids in elementary school, where kids can read to animals and practice their reading reading approach, and also provide a little bit of socialization for our adoptable pets. So we do that once a month. Our Little Bookworms story time, where we read to toddlers and introduce an adoptable animal, that happens every Friday morning, and it just introduces lessons of kindness to animals to our littlest fans. So those are very popular. We also have a summer camp program for kids throughout the summer for all ages, from ages 5 up to 14, 15, I think. So a wide variety there as well. And then occasionally we'll run adult education classes with a variety of topics, such as learning to live with wildlife, our advocacy lobby efforts. So we always encourage people to keep an eye on the website for whatever's coming up next.
That's awesome. And you mentioned like wildlife, and I know when we were driving through, we were talking about the horses and how you guys have horses, and it looked like you guys had rabbits too. What kind of animals do you guys do?
We like to say we have everything from hamsters to horses. Everything in between that you can legally own in Massachusetts. So a lot of people think of animal shelters as caring for cats and dogs. And in fact, that's what a lot of shelters do as their focus. Here at Nevins Farm, we also have a lot of small animals. So animals such as guinea pigs, rabbits, degus, ferrets, reptiles, parakeets. We have many what people consider pocket pets. So they are all here and waiting for homes. On the other side of the property, we have our horses and farm animals. So if you're interested in adopting chickens, a peacock, geese or ducks, pigs, goats. We have some alpacas here today, as well as horses and donkeys. So come on by.
So what are the basic goals of MSPCA?
We are here to protect animals. We're here to relieve their suffering. We want to work for a just and compassionate society, not just for the animals in our state, but also for the people who love them. For every animal story, there's always people involved and attached to that story. So I think it's important that we address that need basically as a unit. We strive to maintain the animal-human bond whenever we can in any situation.
What makes MSPCA different than other shelters like this?
Oh, I could go on forever on this topic.
Soundbite.
So I think one of the things that makes this facility in particular unique is the fact that we do care for animals of all sizes. We're one of the very few facilities in New England, really, that provides care for domestic animals as well as horses and farm animals. More globally, the MSPCA Angel as a whole, we are unique in that we have adoption centers, we have hospitals, we have a community outreach program, we run low-cost clinics out of each of our adoption centers, we have a law enforcement department that investigates cruelty complaints, and we have our advocacy department that works to change laws to make the lives of animals and people better in the state.
You talk about laws. The name of our podcast is About the Law. And I was looking on your website, and I have to check my notes on this. There's a bill in Massachusetts to bring down barriers, quote, outdated, disproven stereotypes of certain dog breeds. What's that all about?
So I think one of our biggest challenges in our adoption centers is when people come to us having to surrender their dog because their landlord doesn't allow a specific breed, or their homeowner's insurance it doesn't allow or won't provide coverage because their dog is a specific breed. And that's a pretty wide paintbrush. Dogs are all unique. Their personalities really vary from dog to dog. And we encourage people to look beyond the breed, look about to that particular dog and what they're all about, rather than is it a pit bull or a Doberman or a husky. And I think that's really one of the top reasons for surrender, is that a landlord doesn't allow a specific breed.
The MSPCA now supports a measure going through the Massachusetts legislature that would prohibit discrimination of pit bulls and dogs of that nature. The legislation is now going through the committee process in the legislature. Let's take a look at the bill. It would stop condominium associations from prohibiting certain types of dogs based solely on their breed, size, weight, or appearance. The proposal would also prohibit public housing from barring dogs based on their breed, size, weight, or appearance. Insurance companies could not deny or cancel homeowners coverage based solely on the breed of a homeowner's dog. Homeowners insurance companies would be prohibited from inquiring about the breed of a dog, except to ask whether the dog is known to be dangerous. Now, during periods of emergency, for example, a pandemic, no landlord could commence an eviction based on the breed of a tenant's dog. Hotels would no longer be allowed to refuse to allow pets unless the pet, quote, has caused a demonstrated noise or safety threat. That proposal is now in the committee process in the Massachusetts legislature. So I'm an attorney, and people have come to me. They want to do their will. They want to do a trust. That's for their assets. What do people do that they go to an attorney and they want to make sure somebody takes care of their pets after they pass?
It's a great question, and there's a couple of different approaches. A lot of people ask us if we'll take custody of their animal, and what we encourage people to do is to identify a family member or a friend who would be willing to take over the care of that particular animal. They can perhaps leave a stipend, a bequest for their friend or family member to provide for the future care of that animal. Of course, we're always here as a resource as well if people have questions or can't keep that particular animal, even though they've committed to caring for it. We also encourage trust, setting up a trust to provide for the future care of that particular animal, which is obviously, as you know, it's overseen by the court system, and it provides a little bit of reinsurance that that animal won't end up in a shelter.
In other words, during my legal career, this was a new thing. And when they
Yes.
first proposed this, we all shook our heads and said, what? But yeah,
Yeah.
there's now an animal trust where you name
Yes.
a trustee. And actually, if it's done properly, you can keep it out of the
Yeah.
court. And you can name a third person to take care of your pet after you
Yeah.
care. Now, one of the things that people always question about animal shelters is whether it's a kill or a no-kill shelter. Up in New Hampshire, they do have and a couple of other states have no-kill laws.
Yeah.
That's not the situation in Massachusetts, but what is the law and what is your policy here with regard to kill, no kill?
So we prefer not to use that terminology. It's pretty harmful, and it's often misunderstood by members of the public. When people ask me that, I always ask them, what does no kill mean to you? And they always struggle with defining that. In a lot of people's minds, it means that no animal in the shelter is ever euthanized, and frankly, that's not the case. And more generally, a lot of shelters would label themselves as a no-kill if 90% of the animals that come into their care ultimately leave the shelter alive, and 10% maybe a euthanasia decision has to be made. We actually have a better than 90% placement rate or live release rate. But again, we prefer not to use the term no kill because we feel, again, that people don't understand the term, but also feel that it's harmful to our colleagues in the animal welfare world who do have to make decisions for euthanasia based on space. And a lot of shelters in the United States right now are struggling with issues of space and having to make a decision for euthanasia. That term no kill really paints them in a bad light when it's really not their fault. It's the fact that they don't have a support from their communities to provide the programs and the care that those animals in the shelter need.
Okay, I get it. The goal is 90% leave alive with new owners or whatever. So
Yes.
what is the number here?
It depends on the species, but we run between 90 and 96%.
That's great. Now, what are the limited number that do have to be euthanized? What are the grounds for that?
So generally, if we do have to make a euthanasia decision, it's because an animal is very unwell, or an animal might have behavior issues which make that animal dangerous to put out into the community. If, for example, a dog came to us with a severe bite history, and imagine, if you will, what type of adopter would take on that animal, which obviously we're going to provide all of the background information on that particular animal. It would take a really incredibly special person to take on and to manage that issue safely in the community. It's not going to put other animals or people at risk.
What is your message to people that just come here and abandon an animal?
So interestingly enough, most of the people who come here and have to surrender their animal do so out of love for that particular animal. Reasons for surrender range from lack of appropriate housing. Cost is a huge issue, especially these days with inflation. Lack of access to veterinary care, something is not being able to afford, an urgent surgery for a pet that they love, and they see the path forward to enable that animal to have some kind of future. The only thing they can do is to surrender that animal in the hopes that we can provide the care that that animal needs.
But what's your message for somebody that just says, I don't want this dog anymore. I'm just going to, when they're closed, I'm going to take it over and leave it there?
Thankfully, that happens very rarely. We would encourage people to reach out to us prior to making that kind of decision. As much background as we can get on that animal, it's going to help us find a better home for that animal if we have background information. So we really encourage people to reach out, no matter the circumstances of why they have to surrender it. We're here to help.
What are some things that people should know before deciding to adopt a pet?
I think one of the first things that any potential adopter needs to do is to think about your lifestyle. What kind of pet is going to be most successful? Are you a couch potato that loves hanging out, watching Netflix, eating popcorn? Then maybe that high energy dog that's a teenager or maybe 1 or 2 years old that needs multiple walks a day, that might not be the right match for you. Or if you travel a lot and are rarely at home, is that very social cat going to be a good match for you? So we definitely encourage people to think about lifestyle to help determine what kind of pet will be most successful in the home.
Do you think that there is anything in particular that people should consider, or any resources that you guys might offer when it comes to someone considering to rehome? Maybe they adopted a pet and weren't aware of these behavioral issues they might have. What can somebody do about that?
It's a great question, and we are asked that all the time. We have on our website some wonderful resources if you need to rehome your pet at mspca.org/rehome, so you can check out all of the tips there. I think one of the primary considerations is making sure that you convey everything that you know about the pet in your care to a potential adopter so that they're fully informed, and making sure that you think about what would make the best life for your pet and try to find someone that matches that description.
Thank you so much for all of your time today, Heather. If people want to learn more about adopting pets or about volunteering at this facility, where can they go?
If you go to mspca.org, you'll have all of the information that you need right at your fingertips.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time with us on About the Law today.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of About the Law.
We hope you've enjoyed our look at animals, the MSPCA in Methuen, Massachusetts. And if so, please like, join, and subscribe. You have been watching About the Law, a production of the law offices of Andrew D. Myers in Methuen in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts, and in Derry, just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire. Remember to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to share it with your friends and others. If you'd like to talk to me about an injury case, a car accident, a slip and fall, a serious bodily injury case, or some other case, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you. You can contact us through my website at attorney-myers.com. We have a contact us block, or you can call on one of the telephone numbers we've given there, or you can email me at andrew@attorney-myers.com. The foregoing is offered for informational purposes only. It is not intended as and does not constitute legal advice. Laws vary widely from state to state. You should rely only on the advice given to you during a personal consultation by a local attorney thoroughly familiar with state laws and the area of practice in which your concern lies. This podcast must be and hereby is labeled advertisement in some jurisdictions.